we've talked about Microsoft and their latest blunders, but we wouldn't be complete with talking about the other side of the fence big blunder.
Yeah.
Which is their hot. You got to keep this in mind. This is one of their big releases of the year for PlayStation.
It definitely is.
And that is Concord. So Concord has released as of it was Friday. It's past Friday. We don't know what, to be fair, we don't know what the player count is on PlayStation. We don't have a way to really gauge that, but we have a way to gauge it on Steam, which as of this recording, it has not surpassed 697 concurrent players.
That is very low.
It has also come to light. This game took 8 years to develop and put out there.
That's not as a surprising of a fact to me as some other stuff, but
8 years for a hero shooter.
But considering like the cinematics and all the shit they have overproduced for this game, that's not as crazy as a thought as I would initially think. It's still a very long time to put out an Overwatch clone. Like I told you, my favorite thing. What you want about the game? It's an Overwatch clone. We all know it is. It's clear.
I told you my favorite thing, where the games journalists that are playing the game are having troubles getting matches at level 10 or higher because there's no one else playing the game at that level.
That's great.
So they just sit.
Hilarious.
And wait, like no one is fucking playing this game.
Proves the game is imbalanced.
The game's not balanced. It proves that when this came out, and again, before I knew anything about the game, because we didn't know anything about it until that part.
We had gotten one small thing about, like, remember they had that thing moving through a ship, and it just said Concord.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, I'm interested to see.
The visuals look good.
Yeah, and then they put out. I'm like, okay, it looks a little Guardians of the Galaxy like, but like this could be cool. And then it was revealed what it was.
It's a PvP fight. And
oh man, no, not what I want.
Immediately not interested. But so here's the problem with this game, though.
I would have predicted this though.
700 people. We'll just say 700 people.
Yeah.
In 4 months, that Marvel Rivals comes out in December. Mm-hmm. Even if that game isn't better. Even if it's the same, it will do better than this does.
It's also on everything, though.
Correct.
It's on Xbox,
that
on
helps,
PlayStation.
But it's also got the word Marvel in the title. Automatically, it does well, at least to start. Where does that leave Concord in 4 months?
I've already told you my prediction, and I'm sticking to it, which is I think Concord, you get two to three seasons, depending on however long they make their seasons. For whatever they're doing for seasonal content.
They put out that little roadmap thingy.
Oh, did they?
They did. They put out a little roadmap thingy that had stuff highlighted, and then April was blocked off.
Awesome. Okay, so let's say they have this planned out.
Did we get to April?
So let's say they have it. They have this mapped out till April, right? I still say February is my timeline for when you're going to get the announcement that it's the PlayStation Plus game of the month that they're going to give out, because that is going to be the last ditch effort to try and drum up some audience to play this game for the content that they have to even justify if they go further.
They'll have to compensate.
Could that happen earlier? Now, could that happen earlier? Possibly. And if that is the case, I think that the other place I would put it would be December. Right as this Marvel game comes out, because they want to. I mean, obviously, these people already know. Look at this weekend. Look at the numbers. Look at what it sold. There's no way it is not humanly possible in any way that this game will compete with that Marvel Rivals game.
It can't.
It's not possible. So I would think at this point,
especially
that there are already conversations about when do we put this on Plus.
Especially because Marvel Rivals is free to play.
The only reason why I say February is because you risk the people on that, obviously on Steam as well, but you risk the people that did buy in at $40.
Well, that's the thing.
What do you do?
That's what I said. They'd have to compensate you.
Is that number low? Sure. But
they'd have to give you in-game money. They'd have to give you Founders Pack or skin, something to prove that you were there ahead of time.
Yeah.
Something. Because if you don't, then that just puts an even bigger stain on you're dying and you have to do this. And the other thing is, like, what happens when this game dies? Does Sony even acknowledge it, or do they just say whatever and they just leave it behind?
The funny thing is, I'm pretty sure I read that the studio that made this Firewalk, I want to say they just bought.
They did.
Okay. What do they do with this studio when this fails?
Well, I'm sorry. That's now a Horizon studio.
I was going to say, it's got to just become a support studio.
That's a Naughty Dog studio. That's what I meant to say.
I was going to say maybe they roll it in to help with Destiny 3 because it's a multiplayer studio.
That's good.
But, like, I feel like this is shuttered, and it's a thing where we get to E3 time next year, we don't talk about Concord. It didn't happen. That's what I think. But I still, the only reason why I'm clinging to February is because, again, I think it takes time to put those things in place and to come up with those ideas of like, well, what do we do for the people that did buy this game? Because it is important to remember this is not a free to play game. It's $40. Or 50 if you bought into this couple day early.
That's even worse.
There's at
Who
least
are you playing
five
against?
people that did that.
All five people?
Exactly.
It's just a shame because they had a chance to get ahead of it and market it what it was before they came out with this secret trailer that then turned it into this game. And remember, Sony already has other games like this coming. Remember, I know you're excited for Fair Games. And
do you think that the failure of this game puts those other ones in jeopardy?
I don't know if it helps. Like, Foam Stars is not doing good. That's not a Sony. It's not a Sony game, but it's a Sony game.
I always forget about that one.
But like, that ain't doing good.
But like Fair Games, like I have to imagine they're looking at that thing and going, "Do we even put this out?
I think it comes out, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything behind it."
Yeah.
I'm just pulling up the roadmap here. So the season 1 starts in October.
Okay.
Season 2 is in January, and then April is like off the thing where you can't see it. But it's just, and what season 1 adds 1 new character, a new map, quality of life upgrades.
So season 2 is January.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll move my prediction up to January.
Season 2.
I think it's season 2 is where you get because at that point you've already gotten a month, because I think Marvel Rivals is like December 5th or something like that. So you've got a month to get Marvel Rivals is out. Obviously we'll see big numbers for that game because it's a Marvel game.
And it's free.
And it's free to play. And then I think January is when you go, okay, we're putting out on Plus to get you ready for season 2.
But don't worry, season 1 and season 2 you get new vignettes.
Wonderful.
I know you're waiting for those. I know you're waiting.
All these great characters.
They're all hard at work on the vignettes right now. Shit, dude! Like,
what a failure!
I just knew. I think real people knew when they saw that trailer. Like, this is DOA, and
we said it when we watched it. I didn't predict it to be this dead on arrival, but we both said it when we saw. Like, who's this for? Who's excited about a pay to play?
In a world where Overwatch went free, you had to pay for Overwatch in the start, and it went free.
Yeah,
but I think the other important thing to note is, like, you and I and a lot of people predicted this was going to be a failure long before any of the DEI bullshit started popping off about this game too.
And that's the important thing to note too, is like, even if you remove, because I see a lot of people put out like, oh, it's because of the DEA stuff.
I don't think it's because of that.
Remove that from it. I'm sure there are some people that refuse to play because of that, but remove that aspect of it. It still would not draw people in because by nature of what it is.
Right.
There are games that are already doing this that people are attached to.
Yeah.
You can't break into this market.
You can't
unless
tell me that DEI bullshit is why people aren't playing this when you have a game like Overwatch,
which also has that
has plenty of representations of everything, including animals, and like everybody's like, well, this game has aliens. You can't do that. Overwatch has a fucking hamster in a ball. Like, don't give me this bullshit about human males. Like, none of this shit matters.
They went back and rewrote a character through a comic.
Yes.
To fit that narrative.
And you know what?
Like in Overwatch.
Do you want to know something about Overwatch? I don't remember that ever being talked about at Overwatch. About any of these characters.
That's the thing too. Like, when you play Overwatch, you just play the matches. It's not like those people are shouting that stuff at you.
But I don't remember that even being a thing, because I think it was like you were talking about Tracer, right? Isn't that what they did with Tracer?
No, it is
Soldier 76 too.
Yeah.
But I don't remember that being the thing people gave a shit about.
No, nobody cared.
Right.
The only thing people, like I said, the only thing people did was they snickered at it because they're like, that's kind of weird,
Right.
that they did it in a comic. But like, did it affect people from playing the game? No.
But you can't. But like, I do see some arguments about Concord. It's like, haha, DEI losing it. It's like, this is just a bad game. It doesn't have anything to do with that. There are people that will avoid it because of that, sure.
But it is like 90% because people did not want.
They're just not interested in this game.
Yeah. So I just it's stunning how much this has failed. I didn't predict it to be like it is. To me, I am as shocked that this game is as big of a failure as I am shocked at how big of a success Black Myth Wukong is. It's been a week of two very different extremes. Here's this other game where I'm like, yeah, this Black Myth Wukong game, it'll be mildly successful. Most successful game of the year. Like, this is it may be bigger than Hogwarts Legacy last year.
And Stellar Blade.
Yeah, right. And then on the other opposite end of the spectrum, to this game to be the biggest disaster of the year in terms of sales, in terms of people playing it. Like, just, boy, would have never predicted. Concord. Yeah, we'll continue to keep an eye on the situation with that game because I'm thinking January.
Here's Concord. Here's the Push Square review because I haven't read it before now. I'm just skipping to the bottom just because he gave it a 7 out of 10. I'll read you the pros and the cons. Pros: some pretty cool characters, high budget presentation, no shit, impeccable sound design, no shady microtransactions. Okay.
Yeah.
Cons: some pretty crap characters, not especially original, an uncertain future, and lore adds very little to experience. Yeah. So the cons are literally like lore adds very, very little to experience. That's the thing they're going so hard on. Here's these little backstories about all stuff, and it adds nothing to the game. Then why does it exist? Who cares?
If the reviews are coming out and they're saying that that's a big aspect of it, part of the game's failure, if I were Sony, I'd be pulling the budgets on those extra vignettes. Yeah.
And like to say that some of the characters are good and some are bad, gee, that sounds like every multiplayer game with pre-made characters I've ever heard of. But not especially original, that's bad. Because especially when you're comparing it to a game that came out when I still worked at GameStop, and that was a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then I laugh because the reviewer posts the first comment in the box, and it just immediately says, "I'm not sure how this comment section is going to go." And
that's good. That's good.
I'll probably skim that tomorrow at work. But I guarantee there's going to be a lot of blocked and deleted comments in this thing somewhere.
Yeah, there is.
Because they love to take that stuff out and ban people on Push Square.
Okay.
But I think the other problem with this game, this is the last thing we'll say before we move on, is I think Sony saw Helldivers and saw like, holy shit.
And they pushed
a weird like one-off thing can blow up like this, and in 6 months we're releasing something else. Let's fucking go for it.
Oh, absolutely.
Oops.
I think that's exactly what
happened. Helldivers exist because people like democracy and killing giant bugs as a team.
Helldivers is as successful as it is because everybody from our generation loves Starship Troopers.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
And wanted a good Starship Troopers game, and they made the best one.
To be fair, I have not even played the Starship Troopers game yet. That's something I'd like to buy if it was like $10.
I think there's one coming out.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
I thought it was out. Is it not out?
There's one coming out.
All right, whatever. I'll pay $10.
But it has a single player aspect to it.
I'll pay $10.
And I do want to play. I think it's in October.
Okay. So I thought it was.
I want to play it.
Maybe I was thinking something else.
There is another game out that's like I think it's only on Steam, but it's like a strategy game.
Maybe that's what
it's not what you think. But the one that you're thinking of is on its way out. It's not out yet.
I'm looking it up.